A hospital nurse works 12-hour shifts 3 or 4 days a week. She's on her feet constantly, making split-second decisions that affect whether people live or die. She's been doing this for 15 years. She's exceptional at her job. She earns around $60,000 a year. Down the road, a man who owns 4 rental properties, buildings he bought over the past decade, spends maybe 5 hours a week on actual work. Some emails, occasional phone calls with his property manager, a quarterly review of his finances. His rental income, after expenses, is around $90,000 annually. The properties themselves have appreciated by nearly $500,000 since he bought them. The nurse works roughly 2,000 hours a year. The landlord works maybe 250. She earns $30 per hour of effort. He earns $360, plus the appreciation, which required 0 additional hours. This isn't a commentary on who deserves what. It's a mathematical observation about how income actually works. And until you understand this math, you'll keep believing that working harder is the path to wealth. It isn't. It's the path to earning a living, which is a completely different thing. Let's break down why. The core problem with hard work as a wealth strategy is that it's fundamentally linear. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. Work 10 hours, get paid for 10. There's a direct fixed relationship between your input and your output. This feels fair, and in many ways it is. But it has a brutal mathematical ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day. Subtract sleep, eating, commuting, and basic human maintenance, and you're left with maybe 10 to 12 hours you could theoretically work. Push beyond that, and your health deteriorates, your productivity drops, and you burn out. So the maximum you can earn through pure labor is your hourly rate multiplied by the most hours you can sustainably work. For most people, that ceiling is somewhere between $50,000 and a few $100,000 annually, depending on how valuable their specific skills are in the market. That's not nothing, but it's also not wealth. It's a salary with a hard cap determined by the constraints of human biology. Wealth operates on completely different math. The wealthy don't earn money linearly. They earn it exponentially, or at least non-linearly. This happens through 3 primary mechanisms: ownership, leverage, and compounding. Each one breaks the direct relationship between time invested and money earned. And once you understand how they work, you'll see why someone working 5 hours a week can out-earn someone working 50. Let's start with ownership. When you own an asset, a business, real estate, shares in a company, intellectual property, you're entitled to returns that have nothing to do with hours worked. A rental property generates rent whether you're sleeping or awake. A business you own can generate profit while you're on vacation. Shares in a company appreciate based on the company's performance, not your personal effort. This is the fundamental shift that separates workers from wealth builders. Workers sell time. Owners collect returns on assets. And assets don't have the same constraints as human bodies. Consider the math. If you own a business that earns $200,000 in profit annually, and you work 500 hours running it, your effective hourly rate is $400. But here's the key insight. If you improve the business so it earns $300,000, your hourly rate jumps to $600 without working any additional hours. The upside is uncapped because it's tied to the asset's performance, not your time. Now, compare that to an employee. If you work an extra 10 hours a week and negotiate a raise, you might increase your income by 10 or 15%. You've traded significant additional time for modest additional money. The relationship stays linear, no matter how hard you push. This is why business owners, investors, and property holders build wealth at rates that seem almost unfair compared to workers. It's not that they're working harder, it's that they're playing a different mathematical game entirely. The second mechanism is leverage, using resources beyond your own to multiply outcomes. The most obvious form is financial leverage. When you buy a rental property with a 20% down payment and borrow the rest, you control an asset worth 5 times what you invested. If that property appreciates by 10%, you haven't made 10% on your money. You've made 50% because you only put in 20% of the purchase price. This is how real estate empires are built, not by saving up to buy properties outright, but by strategically using debt to control assets that appreciate and generate income. The borrowed money does the heavy lifting while your initial capital gets multiplied. But leverage isn't just about borrowing money. It exists in multiple forms. Hiring employees is leverage. You pay someone $50,000 to generate $200,000 in value for your business. The gap is your leveraged return on their labor. The more employees you have doing this, the more your returns multiply beyond what you could ever produce alone. Technology is leverage. Software you build once can be sold to millions of people without additional effort per sale. A YouTube video you create once can generate ad revenue for years. The initial work gets multiplied across every viewer, every customer, every user. Systems and processes are leverage. A well-designed business system produces consistent results without requiring your constant involvement. You build the system once, and it keeps working, multiplying your original effort indefinitely. The hard worker who lacks leverage is like someone trying to move a boulder by pushing it directly. The person with leverage is using a series of pulleys and levers. Same goal, fraction of the effort, dramatically better results. The third mechanism, and perhaps the most powerful, is compounding. Compounding is what happens when your gains generate their own gains. It's growth building on growth, and over time it produces results that seem almost impossible. Here's the math that changes everything. If you invest $10,000 and earn 8% annually, after 1 year you have $10,800. Modest. After 10 years you have $21,500. Okay, it doubled. After 20 years, $46,600. After 30 years, $100,000. After 40 years, $217,000. That's a single $10,000 investment, never added to, growing over 21 times through nothing but compounding. The money made money, and then that money made more money, and the cycle kept repeating. Now imagine you're adding to it consistently. A few $100s a month, invested and left alone. After 30 years, you're looking at numbers that would take multiple lifetimes to earn through labor alone. This is why time in the market matters more than timing the market. This is why starting early is the biggest advantage in wealth building. This is why patient, boring, consistent investing beats exciting, active trading almost every time. But here's what compounding requires. You need money to compound in the first place. And this is where the hard work trap becomes clear. Most people are caught in a cycle that makes compounding nearly impossible. They work hard, earn a salary, and spend most of it on living expenses. Whatever's left over, if anything, gets saved. But then a car breaks down, or rent increases, or a medical bill appears, and the savings get depleted. They're back to zero, and the cycle repeats. This isn't a moral failing. It's a structural trap. When all your income comes from linear labor and all your expenses are immediate necessities, there's no capital left over to deploy into ownership, leverage, or compounding. You're stuck on a treadmill, working hard just to stay in place, never accumulating the assets that would allow your money to work for you. Meanwhile, someone who started with capital, inherited money, a lucky early investment, a business that succeeded, can deploy that capital into compounding assets. Their money grows while they sleep. The gap between them and the hard worker widens every single year, not because of effort differential, but because of mathematical structure. 10 years of compound growth at 8% roughly doubles your money. 20 years quadruples it. 30 years turns it into 8 times the original. The person with capital at the starting line is racing on a motorcycle while the hard worker is on foot. Both are moving forward. One is moving forward much, much faster. This creates a compounding gap that explains much of the wealth inequality we observe. It's not that wealthy people work harder. Many work less. It's not that they're smarter. Plenty of brilliant people are broke. It's not even that they got lucky, though luck often plays a role in the initial capital. It's that they've positioned themselves to benefit from non-linear returns while everyone else is stuck in linear earning. The doctor earning $400,000 a year through exhausting labor is doing well. But the person who owns the medical practice, who employs that doctor and 3 others, is building wealth at a completely different rate. The doctor trades time for money. The owner collects the spread between what doctors generate and what they cost. The successful author who spent 2 years writing a book that now earns royalties for decades has leveraged their past effort into ongoing income. The freelance writer earning per article will have to keep writing forever to keep earning. Same profession, completely different math. So what does this mean for someone stuck in the hard work trap? First, it means recognizing that effort is necessary but not sufficient. Hard work is the baseline. It's how you survive, develop skills, and create opportunities, but it's not how you build wealth. Confusing the two keeps people exhausted and broke. Second, it means understanding that the goal isn't to work more hours but to change the mathematical structure of your income. Even small moves toward ownership, leverage, and compounding can shift your trajectory dramatically over time. Third, it means accepting that this takes time. The compounding math that seems so powerful works slowly at first. Years of disciplined investing might show modest results, and then suddenly, the curve bends upward, and the numbers become significant. Most people quit before they reach the bend. The nurse working 12-hour shifts isn't doing anything wrong. She's providing enormous value to society, and her income reflects the market rate for her skills. But if she wants to build wealth, she'll need to do it outside her job, through investing her savings, acquiring assets, finding ways to make her money work as hard as she does. Hard work pays the bills. Ownership, leverage, and compounding build the fortune. The math doesn't care how tired you are. If this changed how you think about effort and wealth, consider subscribing. We explore the mechanics behind money, the math, the systems, and the strategies that separate those who earn a living from those who build lasting wealth. Next time, we'll look at another principle that the wealthy understand intuitively, but most people never learn.